Oh, I don't know. My hold on a second. Is my mic still?
Russia's cutting you off now.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I was just Russia's cutting me off now. But here's the crazy
Russia's
thing,
like, shut it down.
yo, seriously, because but people don't understand, like.
Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice. But here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Bobby Davis, Paul Bratzlavsky, and Sarah Kimmel.
Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the tech podcast where we talk about everything from AI to VR and robots to flying cars. I'm Kevin Doyle, and this week I'm joined by Sarah Kimmel, Bobby Davis, and Paul Bratzlavsky. Coming up in this week's episode, Apple has stopped selling the Apple Watch in the US. The EU has opened a probe into the company formerly known as Twitter that I refuse to call X. And we'll wrap up this show with our null, not null recommendations for the week, where we recommend that you avoid a product or service. Okay, one thing before we jump in. I asked you guys a question that I haven't prepped you for. So it is Christmas in a few days. So I want to know, what is the best tech gift you have either received or given? Doesn't necessarily have to be for Christmas, but it could have been for a birthday, but maybe for Christmas. Best tech gift you've ever received or given.
So, it wasn't necessarily for Christmas. I get a lot of free tech just because of, of who I am.
You didn't want to say it, but you said it.
No, just for my platform and stuff. So I get a lot of free tech. So I generally, my husband and I generally don't give each other Christmas presents. So, but the best tech that I have received that is my husband's favorite thing that we have gotten is a bed jet. And if you've never heard of the bed jet, you're going to need to pull that up right now, because I should have had this as my not null, because it's
just
amazing. Right. It basically heats like a sheet or cools a sheet. Like it pumps air into the sheet, basically. And so I live in super cold Utah. So it's like just a nice, warm, toasty bed. If you get two, you can have, your spouse can be cold and you can be warm. Like it's literally the most amazing product that we own, I think.
So is it a sheet then that covers you that's also hooked up to this machine kind of thing? Is that
it?
It
Is,
works?
yeah. So so there's like a hole in the sheet, and like it there's like a little thing that like pumps it into the sheet. And like it's kind of like insulated and like double. Yeah. So like the middle thing is like the pump thing that like.
Is it loud?
Like, no, not really. Like, I mean, no louder than like a fan or something in your house. But yeah, like so in the summer, it's like just cooling you like all night. In the winter, it's like all just nice and toasty. So
I like it. Bedjet. It must be good. It's made by a former NASA spacesuit engineer. I mean, come
Obviously.
on. What more credibility do you need for a product?
That's all you need. Space age materials.
But yeah, I mean, I've had this for, I think, maybe 10 years now or something.
Wow.
Like it's been around for a while, but but like to this day, my husband's like, that's the best thing that you've ever gotten for free.
I like it.
I wonder if it'll fit in like a backpack and I could connect it to my jacket.
Yeah.
Just winter
Maybe
thing. That'll be sweet.
Somebody's why are they not selling the portable version?
Yeah,
I know, right?
They're missing something here, Paul. I'm telling you, email them.
Yes,
Drop them a message.
I mean, they've got the spacesuit technology, right? They've got to be able to do the portable version.
Yeah. Anyone else? Got anything? Any memories that you can think of? I'll tell you mine.
Go ahead first.
So mine's from a long time ago. Maybe mine's longer ago than Sarah's is. The one piece of tech that I remember getting, and it was a gift that was given to me, and my parents gave it to me, and it was a Commodore 64. Nice. That's the one thing that I like in my lifetime that like is the first computer that I ever got. And I still remember getting it to this day, and we used it for a long time. And then I remember a few years after that, we got a Commodore Amiga. So I guess we were a Commodore family, I guess. But we got an Amiga 500. That was like, I remember that too. But the C64 was like first computer. I remember spending way too long playing on that thing. Both games, and it was basic, right? So you basically wrote a whole bunch of basic out, and it just made a thing jump across the screen. Like, it didn't do anything, right? You weren't really programming anything, but it was tons of fun to do it. Yeah, that was mine.
Have you seen the movie 8-Bit Christmas?
I haven't, no.
Oh, you need to check that one out. So, like, Neil Patrick Harris is basically telling the story of the Christmas that he got his Nintendo.
Okay.
And
I've seen this on streaming.
It's phenomenal. Like, it's so great.
I will check that out.
Yeah.
That's a Christmas movie I could watch.
But your story kind of makes me feel like that story. Like, he wanted a Nintendo. Like, and this is when they were like, hard to get and super popular.
Right.
Like,
what's yours going to be, Paul? What you got?
I was going to say, I didn't know we go how far back we're going, so I have a memory similar to that one. But speaking of tech gifts, like, as an adult, nobody gets me tech gadgets except the things that I buy myself. No one cares. They're like, no. You get socks, you get underwear, but no.
You don't even get the terrible tech gadgets. You don't got the stuff from like somebody gets you something from like Sharper Image or something. You're like, yeah, I really needed that.
No.
Shoehorn that's an automatic radio, or something like.
Honestly, that would be an upgrade. But like, yeah, I get none of that stuff. So all my tech stuff, I have to like, get it myself. But when I was younger. When we first came to this country, like, we came with nothing. We were like fairly poor, like, at the beginning. And so all my friends had a like Nintendo, and I really, really wanted one. And I was just like, man, I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get one. And I think the Zelda game came out, and I was just like, oh man, I really want it. And my mom wanted to surprise me by not telling me that she was going to get a Nintendo. And for the whole like 2 months leading up to Christmas, I was such a jerk to all my parents. I was so bad because I knew I wasn't getting a Nintendo. And I was like, you parents suck. I was just so bad, such a bad kid. And I would like do these tantrums on the floor. So embarrassing. If there was like, thank God there was no cell phones back there, because good Lord, that would get like 1 billion views of how
you'd still be a meme today.
Yeah, exactly. It'd still be a meme today. And I would like literally have these tantrums. I'm surprised cops didn't show up. Like, I was like screaming. And my mom, like, she's a trooper, because she just, if I were her, I would just give it away. I would have been like, screw it. It's like, just like, I would have not given it to him. But when I opened my present and saw Nintendo, I had like instant, like, Paul, you're such a jerk. I can't believe you did that to your parents. I was like, let this be a lesson to you. You're such a bad kid. And I was like, I to this day, I can't like apologize enough to my mom for being such an ass that one Christmas waiting for a Nintendo. But yeah, it was awesome. Zelda is awesome. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
You definitely need to watch 8-Bit Christmas then, Paul, for sure.
This is like based on your story.
It is. It's your life.
I'm in similar, Paul. Like, I buy my own tech gifts because I can't take it if someone, hey, you may get you a television for Christmas. Nah, don't do that.
Yeah.
I'll handle the purchase.
I'm good.
Agreed.
You're going to get me something crappy, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this myself.
You won't understand why I don't want it.
Right.
Right. And then I'll feel bad because
I'll feel bad. And then I'm stuck with a 1080p, low-res television. Because you have to come over. Hey, isn't that picture great? Yeah, sort of.
Sure.
Yeah. Could have been better.
Great.
That's funny.
But I buy all my own tech gifts, and because people ask me what I want for Christmas all the time. It's usually like, I want a Mac Studio Pro completely maxed out. No one can get that for you,
Right.
So
true.
But
true. So
for this Christmas, though,
chocolates, right?
My tech gift is a new pair of glasses. So like, I'm getting a new pair of glasses. A lot of people don't know this, but I have like a cornea issue in my left eye. And so now I'm getting a brand new pair of glasses that will have like bifocals built in so I can see out my left eye.
You getting the Ray-Bans?
No.
The Google Ray-Bans?
They'll be like,
I
don't know what brand of frame I'm going to get, but I have to get the lenses made somewhere. So,
yeah.
But they will be yellow. So I'll look like Tony Stark, in the later ad.
Nice.
Just throw those in the Meta Ray-Bans. You'll be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Cameras on you all the time. It'll be amazing. So if you're listening to this on the launch day of this podcast, it's going to be the 22nd of December. And yesterday, Apple will have quit selling Apple Watch Ultra and Apple Watch Series 9 in the US. So on the 21st at 3 p.m., you will no longer be able to buy either of those two products from the Apple website. You have until the 24th to go to the store and buy one if they have any. So they're not going to stop selling them until the 24th. So I guess this is planned to be around Christmas, right? So this is due to, so they're literally going to stop selling them in the US. This is due to an International Trade Commission ruling as part of a patent dispute related to the blood oxygen sensor owned by a company called Masimo. So they've had this blood oxygen sensor since, I think, Series 6 models. I have a Series, what is mine? A Series 7, and mine has it in. So it's not going to affect existing devices around the market, but they've basically been told, like, hey, you have until the end of the year and you have to quit selling this device in the US because you've infringed on Masimo's patents. Apparently, they've infringed the 103 instances of patent infringement across 5 different patents. This is not something you can solve easily overnight with like, we'll just tweak one thing and continue selling the watch. It's not going to be that easy for them. They're going to have to kind of, I think, go back to the table maybe on this thing. And this may be out of the market for a minute. So if you want one, and it is the 22nd today, you have a couple of days to go to the store and buy one. That's pretty much what I'm saying. You'll still be able to buy the SE in the US, which is the low, because that doesn't have the blood oxygen sensor in it. So you'll still be able to buy that one, but you won't be able to buy the top of the range, either the Ultra or the Series 9. Or I guess the Series 8, if they're still selling those. I think they were still selling those too, but anything with the blood oxygen sensor in it, basically. So there is one thing that could save Apple from this, and it's confirmed actually just earlier today that this is not going to happen. So you can get a presidential veto that can override the ITC on these things. They're not going to veto this, and the reason they're not going to veto it is because that it's considered too small of a part of the Apple company. So basically, the veto will come into place if the president says, "Hey, this is going to kill off this American company if we don't allow this product to come in. It's going to kill the brand. It's going to kill the company." They'll like do a veto and allow it and let it play out and do whatever. This is such a small part of the Apple business. It's not going to kill Apple as a brand. So the fact that they can't sell a watch in the US is not going to kill them off. So they are not going to veto this. And they have confirmed they are not going to veto this. It is going into effect. They will quit sales along this timeline. This is not going to get a last-minute reprieve. So, Bobby, what do you think? What do you think the next phase in this is? Where do we go from here? Do we just no longer buy Apple Watches in the US?
I think it's on imports, right? So they can't import it into the US. Is that what it is?
Correct. It's made in a foreign country, right. So they cannot import it into the US. That's
Yeah. So just make it in Texas, I guess.
Sure, but imagine ramping that up.
Apple watches are now $1,000.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, aren't they already? I don't know.
I don't know.
Like I don't know what to think about this. I don't know. I'm not a patent expert. I guess if they value the patent, they should be good citizens in the world and do these things. They're saying that they didn't. Obviously everyone says that, so they'll appeal it and we'll see what happens. So I guess you'd have to get a Samsung watch.
Or Garmin. I like
a Garmin watch. I knew you were going to. Does it have a blood oxygen sensor on it?
That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure. That's not something I'm really concerned about. So
yeah, it is one of those things that's kind of buried in the Apple Watch too. It's not like a front-facing like sensor. It kind of happens in the background. Right. And the point of it is like, so if you have like, it helps with like for a lot of like COVID issues, right? Would have been a big thing. So if your blood oxygen level with COVID, if you get it bad, like drops. So if you get that and your blood oxygen level goes down, or it sees a big change, it'll like alert you basically to say, hey, like, it's wrong. It keeps track of it. So I think it runs every few hours. It kind of tests it, and it keeps a kind of a chart in the background of what it's doing. So if it does lower, or generally if it's lower, right? If you're above 97, 96, you're golden. You start going below that, you start having some issues. So yeah, it kind of runs in the background. But it makes me wonder, the watch is going to be on sale everywhere else in the world, right? It's only in the US that they're not going to have this thing because of some patent thing. And it's because of US patent law. So we're the only country in the world that's basically saying, nah, you can't do that because of patent law. You can buy them in China. You can buy them in any other country in the world. You can go buy an Apple Watch. But you can't buy in the US because of patent infringement. That just like I get the idea behind having patents. Sure, patent your thing. I get it. I get why the idea is there, but it then also stops. Like I often think if I had an original idea, and I go to make a product, but somebody else has already patented it, I couldn't make that product without paying them or without agreeing with the thing or whatever. Or they could just say no. In this case, Massimo's just said no because these companies have sued each other back and forth a whole bunch. They're not going to come to an arrangement where Apple says, we'll just pay you whatever it is. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're just going to dig their heels in and say no. So if I come up with an original idea and somebody's like already patented it, what do I do?
So they're still going to make them though. Right?
Correct.
So that's interesting because like this is the scenario I see, like a bunch of people going to buy all the Apple Watches here while they can so they could sell them at a higher rate. And then there's going to be this black market gig where people are going to buy them everywhere else when they go on vacation or like whatever. And then they're going to sell them in US and make some profit.
Yes. Agreed. Idea. It becomes a gray market. That's like a gray market, right? Where you can buy something leaving another country and kind of import it in or bring it with you for whatever reason. Because there's no reason you're not going to get stopped at a border with an Apple Watch because the only reason is they can't sell it in the US. You can wear it, you can bring it, you can do what you can have bought one in another country, and I guess you can pay tax on it when you bring it back in if it's above a certain amount. Yeah. So there's nothing to stop you doing that. So I agree. It creates this thing called a gray market, and it's going to, and people are still going to try and import these things. There's going to be the new thing. I guarantee you customs are getting like a thing that says, hey, watch out for shipments of Apple Watches coming in because there's going to be a ton of them and they're going to have to turn them around. And it's going to be weird.
What I don't understand is why don't they just disable the function? Like that seems like a simpler way to go.
Yeah. I don't think it's that simple. Apparently, from what I've read, the patents are part software, part hardware. Sure. So the fact that even the hardware exists in the device infringes on the patent in the first place. So it's not like they can just like turn off a piece of software that says, okay, we just won't use it. Right. Because they're still going to, because this Massimo company is still going to say, well, the hardware's still there. So that's still an infringement of patent. So no.
So stupid though that anywhere else you could just get the watch.
I agree.
So dumb. It's
and that's why I think that is a better outcome for Massimo is to just force them to disable the feature, because then like that's kind of across the board. They're not using it. I mean, sure, the hardware is in there, but if it's not in use and like nobody can get that data, then
and maybe that's the way they go. I mean, I think long term, I think what happens here, Apple just recreates it, right?
Right.
That doesn't a version that doesn't infringe on the patents. This is a short term like issue for them. I don't think it's like this is not a long term thing. But I mean, but for now, like how many months do you think we go without Apple Watch in the US?
90 days.
You think
Twitter?
Yep. You think that's as long as it's going to take for them
They'll make a Series 10 will come out in April. Yeah. If not by September of next year, whenever they have all their other product releases.
They probably already have their own version. Like they probably knew like that was going to be a matter of time since they're like, oh, we're going to get cut out. So like it was fun while the ride lasted, but you just have to wait. That like Bobby said, when they release their next watch, they'll have it all done.
Yeah,
Massimo should have took the money is what they should have done.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any money offered. I think that's the thing. I think they're so like anti each other because Apple did file a lawsuit back against Massimo when they put out a watch that said, hey, now you're infringing on our watch will use this kind of technology. So these companies do not get along. I don't think they're going to come to an agreement here.
I've never even heard of that company.
No, nobody has. That's kind of the point, right?
Let me see the watch that they're making.
This is the point, right? It's some like company just because they have a patent, they hold this this thing over other companies who are actually making stuff that like can't now because they're saying, well, we hold the patent for that, and it's like our way of doing that. In their defense, though, I did read that Apple did hire some engineers from Massimo in the past, so so it's like, can you really, But I think that's common practice, but I mean, I'm sure they didn't like that either, right? So
yeah, I see what they're doing because Massimo, like their market, they're like a medical watch, and so I'm assuming their market is like the people with like certain conditions, could be like diabetes, whatever. And I think like if Apple, let's say, offers the same feature, so like consumers have no reason to buy the medical watch because they just buy the Apple Watch. And
but I just have the feeling there's two different markets. The Massimo market isn't your forward-thinking tech person; it's your grandma sat on the couch who's buying it over an infomercial, right? That's and it's like that's just weird. I'm never ever gonna buy a Massimo blood oxygen monitor. Never in my life. So the fact that they hold that now and like is the only way you can buy one in the US is from them is just weird.
And most people aren't buying an Apple Watch for the blood oxygen level. Like that's not the make or break feature that is selling Apple Watches.
Oh, I think that's a good point.
It is a feature, though. I'm sure that
it is, but
Apple Watch is buying the Apple Watch no matter what's on it.
But if it went away, I don't think people are going to... If it's one of the features they check off the list and put a red line through it, I don't think it sells less Apple Watches.
I agree.
But
no, they want
also
the snapper thing, whatever that is. Whatever that
is. Finger gestures.
Finger gestures.
Oh,
for the medical watch company, I mean, that's the only thing they got going for themselves. You know what I mean? They have no other like market competitive advantage. So if Apple decided to like, let's say, keep that feature and decided, I mean, they're not advertising to this demographic, but if they decided to advertise and the watch is similarly priced, it's like literally the sell would be like, hey, we do all the things Massimo does, but you could also do all these other things.
Watch them release a medical watch. Just
and the price is the same. That'll be hilarious. That'll be hilarious.
It's going to be called the Microsoft Super Special Medical Watch Explorer.
Exactly.
And they're like, the price is like $578. Like so, like on their watch. So it's literally like very competitive price wise to Apple Watch, and Apple Watch does this and everything else that it does. So I could see how they're like threatened, and I feel like they would be the one losing. So they're basically trying to hold on to their one competitive advantage they have. And now that they made this is I agree with Bobby was saying, they're going to make a medical watch because now Apple's like, oh, you done pissed us off. So now we're going to release an Apple Watch for the elderly, and it's going to have our own patented super duper sensor. And it's going to be cool.
Exactly. With bands.
It's the cricket version of the the cricket phone, whatever it's called, that like the one for the phone for old people. It's the watch version of that Apple's going to bring out now.
Yeah. Oh man. We probably going to be in business for the next 6 months. That's it. Apple's going to kill them. Like come out with 100%.
We'll see.
Speaking of Apple being petty, have you seen the iMessage stuff with Beeper?
No.
Yeah.
With Beeper?
What's Beeper?
So, and sorry, this might derail, but
go for it.
We can talk about this topic too. So Beeper is they basically a kid, like a teenager, reverse engineered iMessage and figured out how to make an Android device appear to be a native Apple device. And so Beeper, a company who's already doing like the Mac farms where
those guys.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think we talked about Sunbird or maybe Beeper. But
we did.
Sunbird.
That was Sunbird.
Yeah. So that's how they were doing it. So Beeper pays this teenager for his code and releases Beeper Mini, which was basically, you don't have to register with your Apple ID or anything. It just shows your phone number as a blue bubble, like for other iPhones. Like, just through Beeper Mini, because he like totally hacked into the system and like figured out how it was generating tokens or whatever. Anyway, so big news. It was hugely popular. Beeper Mini, like everyone was downloading it and everything. Apple shut that crap down in like 2 days.
Wow.
Off the Android store?
They shut down the workaround. Basically, somebody hacked their way in. They patched up the hack.
What's crazy is that I love how it's like some young teenager, which is like when I was, I don't even want to know the age this kid was. Like, if I go back any in time and like think of that age that some of these kids are building these cool things, I'll be like, I was nothing. I was doing nothing. I was like too busy eating potato chips and pizza while watching like Saturday cartoons. I was it's just so funny. Just like, oh, it's some kid made $1 billion probably. That's awesome though.
Probably just like they're sending an XML message or some kind of JSON request, and he just like shoves Apple in there so where it said Android. But then it shows up blue.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact technical part was.
Yeah.
But he figured a way around it. Basically,
Yeah.
he figured out like not necessarily a hack, but a way to like spoof it. Right? Yeah, he spoofed it. Right, so he spoofed it, and then Apple were like, "We shut that down." And it must have been so easy for them to shut down. They just put, it was probably an initial line of code that checked something, and it was like, "Yeah, if it's this, don't allow it." And that was it. They shut it down.
Yeah,
like that. That's it.
That's funny.
Sorry.
Yeah, but like their official statement was like all about security and everything like that. Like where if they're really concerned about security, I mean, they're implementing RCS, but not end-to-end encrypted. Like SMS is the most like insecure thing ever. This would be like a more secure way to interact with an Apple device.
That's because we only care about iMessage. Super secure. It's great.
Obviously.
Works awesome. Like, I don't care what your Android
And
experience
RCS
is like.
standard doesn't have it. It's just the one that Google made.
Yeah, the Google
and on top
one.
of it, they'd have to adopt Google's standard.
Yeah, they're not going to do that.
They're not going to do that.
Not going to happen.
It probably cost them money, and they're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Second, they want the bubbles. Let's just be real. That's what they want. So
yeah,
anyway,
but so and
I think
then
it's
now
funny.
they've shut down like the regular like a beeper. The regular beeper has been running with those Mac farms like for a year or two. They shut that down too now.
Yeah, that's so
yeah.
good.
I think it's because that stuff was kind of under the radar before, and it suddenly gets mainstream attention, and they're like, yeah, we actually don't like that, do we?
Right.
So we're just gonna can it.
I'm shocked they shut it down because I was going to go to my family's Christmas party
Yeah.
and make a blue bubble in the text chat and go, look at this, baby. Samsung. Get some of that. I can be the same colors all of y'all.
Green
Beeper
forever.
keeps like working it, like making it work, and they keep like it's been a cat and mouse game for the last like
Right.
week.
Yeah. There's a message that goes through, and then that message has to be of a certain format, and then whatever's in there, they can figure out what color to make it.
Yeah.
They're trying to like make the message the same as iMessage.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, sorry to derail, but
So can I
it was-
download this Beeper Mini on my Android device?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't work the way it
Doesn't
used to, obviously. Like it's not currently working at the moment, but
Okay.
Yeah, they've
So
killed
no
it.
magic tricks at the Christmas party, right?
No, maybe
not at the moment.
Maybe by Christmas though. Who knows?
I know, like I
another way
said,
around
like,
it.
they keep like it's been cat and mouse like for the last week, so it's changing daily, Bobby. It could
All right.
happen.
I'm gonna look at the spec over tonight, see if I can code something.
You probably
Yeah.
can.
Do it.
Let's talk about the platform formerly known as Twitter. I'm just going to refer to it as Twitter from here on in.
Social media platform for Twitter.
Yeah, we'll just call it Twitter from here on in for the purpose of the story, and I refuse to call it X. So they have opened a probe. I say the EU has opened a probe into Twitter. It's basically a formal investigation into Twitter over its content moderation practices. They're looking into things like, I love this one, the paid verification systems, that's Twitter Blue. The EU officials have described as suspected deceptive design, whatever that means. They don't like the way that's being sold, I guess, which we've talked about before, like the fact that it's paid, that it's verification system, yet there is no true verification. We've always been an issue with the word verification, right? Just call it a subscription and move on, dude. Like, quit calling it verification, you'll be fine. The community notes, the fact-checking program that they have there too, they are looking into whether that is actually effective at fighting misinformation related to civic discourse and the electoral processes. And this was my favorite part of the story. The EU has called out Twitter, or X, as the worst place online for fake news, and officials have urged Musk to do more to clean up the platform. So basically, they're saying that it's violating the DSA we've talked about before, the Digital Services Act, the EU DSA. And this is when we talked about before, the fines could be 6% global revenue. This is that.
Global,
this is they're saying this is the global revenue, because that was funny. But yeah, 6% of global revenue or removal from the EU. So, with that said, Sarah, what do you think comes of this? And do you think we see a Twitter ban in Europe?
Absolutely. I think we see a Twitter ban in Europe. The EU has proven time and time again, it could care less about making things difficult for businesses. Like that, or it couldn't care less because I guess it could care less.
But I don't know what you mean.
Right. I mean, the reason that every website you go to, you have to accept cookies is because of the EU. Like every single thing that's annoying about the online interactions has come from EU regulations. And so I don't see this going away. Like EU has just proven time and time again that it doesn't care. So I absolutely see that they will ban Twitter in the EU. And I don't think Elon cares. Like, I don't think he will care that it gets banned in the EU. Like, he'll just like, sweet, see ya.
Agreed.
He's not going to change anything for absolute sure. And I mean, that act aside, I don't think he should be forced to change anything anyway. I mean, granted, yeah, it's a horrible spot for news. Okay, well, just make that known. Like, nobody's going to go to Twitter for their news if everybody knows that like everything on there is misinformation and bots. Like, it's going to kill itself. Like, you don't need to regulate that. Okay, you have to verify everything that's like shown on your platform. I mean, that's just ridiculous, and Elon will never do it.
I was gonna say, but if like, are they gonna just ban it, or are they gonna be like, or you could pay us money? And
well, no, they're going to. Yeah, no, that's what is what that is what's going to happen.
Yeah, so
they're going to say
money.
they're going to try and leverage a fine, the 6%.
Yeah.
He's going to say no, and then they're going to ban it. Exactly. that's literally where it's going to go.
Yeah,
I see no other road for this.
Same.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts on this. The first one is like EU. I know what it stands for, European Union, but like I like the more better representation. Like, ew. Like, what the hell are you doing to my website? Ew. Like, I got to click these extra buttons, and what do you like? So here's my theory. By the way, I like how like in the picture he looks like he just went fishing, and he's like lying, like, I caught a fish this big, it was huge. And he's also
no, it's true because he would say that.
I'm with and he's also doing like the opposite of the Hunger Games sign. I think like the Hunger Games sign is with like the little thing, like, and he's doing like, so you could tell he's plotting like world domination. He's like, either that or he's
odds be ever in his favor.
You know, whatever. Anyway, another thing like I was thinking, I was like, I wonder if he's like acting out of control, doing all these things, and like that's why he said like "F you" to like in that public like thing. Because, and he kind of alluded to it in his quote where he was like, if Twitter dies, it's not my fault, it's the advertisement's fault. And so to me, I'm like, wow, he's playing like 6D, 7D, 10D chess here. He's like, it's not me. It's everybody else. It's EU. Yeah. It's the advertisement.
Except he's delusional.
Yeah, exactly. If Twitter fails,
because it's definitely him.
It's not me. It's not me. It's all you. It's like you. Yeah. It's the advertiser, the one that advertises, no one wants to pay for this. Nobody wants to do it. So I think he's like, and then he's gonna like, I'm sure there's gonna be some loophole because it didn't die because of his like incompetency and delusion, but rather from like all these other factors. So he's not financially responsible. It's like,
maybe,
you know, whatever. That's my tinfoil hat. But I mean, I love Twitter. I think it just should keep going. Like dude, Twitter is so insane. Here's another funny thing. So like there was on the news, they brought Alex Jones back, which is like insane. Here's my story about Alex Jones. Cause I grew up in America, but I'm not an American, like from birth, meaning like, and so like when I was watching his show, like I started watching, was like younger, like, and like I watched it because I thought it was a comedy show. I thought it was like a whole thing where it's like,
oh no,
like,
you were right.
Yeah,
what do you call it? Like
100% right.
Yeah, I forgot what you call it, but it's like the term
a spoof,
like a spoof or like whatever. And I was like, wow, he's so wild. Like this is just so hilarious. And then like I discovered like much later that people think it's all like real, and it is real. And I was like, holy Jesus. And I was like trying to be like, are people really that dumb? Or is it like I was trying to like justify for myself, but oh my gosh, but because I was like, this guy will say anything for entertainment. It's like,
Yeah,
you know, it's hilarious.
So I got this story a little bit early, and I didn't know. I really don't know who Alex Jones is. I had him confused with Van Jones for a while. So like I think they're two different guys. So like I really don't. I mean, and then I heard on another show when I was driving into work today about stuff he said about Sandy Hook, which is what ultimately got him banned.
Yeah,
and that's insane. I mean, like to say that a shooting didn't happen and the FBI faked the whole thing through AI or however they did.
I was in Connecticut still when that happened.
Yeah,
and holy Jesus, yeah,
it's just insane to say something like that. It's irresponsible. So those kind of things should get you
banned.
Banned from a platform because you're saying things like that. That's just like totally insane. However, what I will say is this term misinformation bothers me on a great deal because I don't want a government from anything just telling us what they deem to be a misinformation because it's all going to go one way.
Yep.
I don't believe in UFOs. So should any UFO prognosticator out there be banned from Twitter because he thinks that UFOs exist and I don't? I mean, like, or should I be banned because I don't? Those are the types of things that I think should be free and open and make your own decision. But all this is going to go to politics. And so this is all about politics.
Yeah.
And so like they want to censor whatever the ruling party is going to censor the platforms the way they seem it to be. I don't think we should have that in the U.S.
Nope. I agree 100%.
So, can someone say something crazy on Twitter? Absolutely 100%. You know, like, and you can block them and ban them or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
I think porn should be outlawed. I'm probably in the minority if you asked everyone in the U.S., you know, like shouldn't be on Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, the internet. It should have its own domain suffix in the internet where like 100%. You can't even get to it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're worried about whether someone might like Donald Trump or not. So we just kick them off the internet.
And it's crazy. Yeah. I think like freedom of speech is like super important. I think a lot of people here take it for granted because they haven't grown up under communism or some other countries where it's like totally different. I remember like me growing up under communists, like we literally had to do what the government said. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and you couldn't have any other thoughts that don't agree with like the party. Otherwise, like bad things would happen to you. And I haven't been to Russia. Like, I don't know. Hold on a second. Is my mic still?
Russia's cutting you off now.
That's good. That's good. I was just Russia's cutting me off now. But here's the crazy thing. Like,
shut it down.
Yo, seriously, because but people don't understand. Like, that's not a joke in some of those countries. Like, people will disappear. Yeah. And I remember, like, with everything that's going on, like, because I'm half Ukrainian, half Russian, so I haven't been back to Russia in the past 7 years. But last time I went, I talked to one of my aunts, grandmother, like they were like elderly, like they were like almost like 95 at that time. And she's like, Paul, I have a question. I'm like, yeah, you could ask me. And she's like, but I can't ask you yet. And we were outside in like a public domain. She literally waited until we got to her house, took me to a closet. And then she like, which is like, so like, I was like so weirded out. I'm like, what's going to happen? Like grandma, like, you know, like, but she basically asked me, is it true what they say about America? Like how you have all this freedom? And she whispered it to me in the closet with blankets around because she was still living under that old mentality. Like there is no freedom of speech. And I think like there's a lot of things that US doesn't get perfect. But one of the reasons why a lot of people come here is this like freedom of speech. Like we could all make fun of Elon right now. We can make fun of Trump, Biden, whoever, it doesn't matter. Go make fun of Putin. I guarantee you,
we've seen what happens there.
You're not going to be here tomorrow. Go to Thailand, talk about even though like I love Thailand, really good country. But if you're saying stuff about their government that doesn't jive with what they think they should be represented, you're not going to be around because you'll be in prison. And so to me, like having and living in a country where, okay, I may have an opinion. My other person I disagree with might have an opinion, but it's their right to have that opinion. And I don't want to infringe it. But I have the right to ignore them and not listen to them and not engage in that conversation. But I'm not going to tell them, shut them down because like, you know, they have a right. The only difference I would say if it's like inciting violence and then the crimes are happening due to their actions, then I'll be like, okay, that's it's beyond words now. You know what I mean? So,
right. Yeah. And I think the Supreme Court in the U.S. has like 9 cases that they've ruled on free speech. And I think all of the social platforms should just take that case law and say, here's our policy. It's based on these 9 things. the Supreme Court constantly hears things on free speech, what freedom of speech is, what it's not, what cases can it be restricted and what can it's not. And just censoring people just because, I mean, in 2020, I know it's not popular, man. We weren't even allowed to talk about COVID unless you said it was this way or that thing. You couldn't talk about anything else other than that. And you couldn't even have an intellectual discussion.
Because that was the case of misinformation, because that's how you describe misinformation. Misinformation is when you intentionally mislead somebody with something that benefits you.
But plenty of doctors were really smart about it.
Yeah.
But they were wrong. Hold on. It's a knowingly. Well, no, they were. It's knowingly lying about something so that you can gain something. We have a problem with that on all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, it's all over the place. It's like you get the pharmaceutical companies say something about the thing because they want to sell more, whatever. They'll say, well, you need this, you need this. Like, that's one side of it. But the other side was like, it's just like the flu. How often did we hear during COVID? Oh, it's just the flu. It's not just the flu. Dude, you went to hospital. It's not just the flu.
Right. But we also had things like masking. And then it came out like studies later in the last year that says, masking kind of didn't work. The 6 feet thing was kind of
No, that's
you made it up.
But again, I would argue that's misinformation. If you ask a medical doctor, why do you go into surgery? Why do they wear masks? Because of infections.
Because
right? It's the same kind of idea.
Right.
It's the same kind of idea. If we all wore masks, masking would work. Because most of us, or 60 or 70% of us, decided not to wear them, it didn't work.
But most of the masks weren't medical grade. None of them.
No, they weren't. And that's the problem. They weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't N95s. They weren't whatever it was. And that's part of the problem. People were making do with whatever. And that was part of the problem.
Anyway, so I think there's a lot of things where the government decides what we can talk about, what we can't. And they just cancel people off Twitter, cancel them off that, and they can't talk about anything. And so you can't have an intellectual discussion where you can learn from each other when you have opposing points of views. And then the fact that misinformation now is solely inside the political realm now, it's like, geez, dude, like, you're not allowed to say, I would like lower taxes. Well, let's cut him off Twitter. Let's cancel the Not Know podcast. He's done. Close Coder Foundry down. Like, dude, I just want lower taxes. Is that all right? But I think that's kind of where I don't like the government controlling free speech. I think that's what America has going for it. And it's not always good. I mean, I would like to see Twitter without F-bombs.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy. But that's what I would like to see. But it's every day. And then I get bots on Twitter, just crazy bots, just saying things. It's like, I just block them and ignore it mostly.
I think like the public just generally need to have some common sense, and everybody should be like not too quick to go wild when someone says something. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. It's like people just don't have common sense and listening ability.
You give way
just
too much credit to people.
Yeah, let me just listen to what this person has to say to me. But yeah, it is just wild. It's wild times. And I think like social media just makes everything worse because now everybody has a say and everybody has their little echo chambers. One thing I hate about like social media in general, like even with Spotify, right? Like they're only going to show you stuff that you enjoyed. So you're never going to discover anything new. So it's always like an echo chamber of things that you already agree with. So there's nothing to sway your opinion. No one like on Twitter is going to be like, show you like a counterpoint so you could think about it critically and be like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that angle. Let me like think about it more. And then like, hey, they changed my opinion. They usually just show you the same stuff. So if I say like, I like certain candidate, that's the type of stuff I'm going to say. If like with Spotify, if I like certain music, that's the only thing they're going to show me. So like I made a mistake because like I love a very specific type of music. It's like called new retro wave. And if it's not that, like I just don't care. And so I just listened to some Ukrainian and Russian songs and my whole playlist changed to everything but like Russian and Ukrainian songs. I'm like, no. I was just trying it out. Like, I don't want to hear these songs, like, because I only want new retro wave. And I had to like go and retrain the system again because there's this bias. And I think, that's the thing. It's like you're always served something that you agree. So if you're like a racist, you're always going to see racist stuff. If you're like believe a certain thing, you're always going to see that type of content. And God forbid you run into a person that has a opposite point, you're not going to have a discussion because you're so like through all this constant bombardment think that your point of view is right. And it's like two people could be right at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, that too, like you just got to learn to like have discussion, I think, without hating people. Yeah. Like, it's like, come on, we can disagree. Imagine, I mean, it's already bad enough with Ohio State and Michigan football. Like if you support for Michigan,
Dude, that's why I don't watch sports, because
kill them. That's
yeah.
it.
We don't talk about that.
dude,
And we shouldn't be that way about politics.
Yeah.
We should like discuss things and figure it out, and then, or any other topic that comes up, So, I'm anti-UFO, if you said, but I'll talk to plenty of
They're
dudes that
real.
believe in UFOs. I don't think they're stupid.
They're real.
I get where you're
What?
coming from.
Dude, I was abducted when I was a child. I could tell you the story, exactly what happened, step by step. I recall all the details. I think it was on a Tuesday. I would just finish. I'm just kidding.
There was a cow.
Yeah, it was a cow.
Well, it's like that quote though, and I'm gonna butcher it, but like, I hate what you're saying, but I will fight to the death to protect you
To say it.
to be able to say
Yeah,
that.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel.
I wouldn't fight for Alex Jones. I mean, like he should.
Well, this is the thing. There is a line.
Yeah,
Everybody has a line.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I agree with that sentiment. There is a line, and where is the line? Just different places for different people.
Yeah.
And
Right. Well, and that's why you can't do a blanket like
Yeah.
With the
this is the
government.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
government can't draw that line. You have to draw that line for yourself. And like Bobby was saying, block them, whatever. You don't have to listen to them. That's your
Dude.
right to like remove yourself from the situation. Like you can scroll past that, but don't deny them the ability to say it,
It's like I wouldn't wear a Michigan Wolverine shirt at the shoe during an Ohio State football home game. I wouldn't do that because you'd probably get beat up, And
you'd be fine.
It's challenge accepted.
I've been to a Raiders Chargers game. I don't know. The fight broke out by the third quarter. That's why they stopped.
Oh my
filling
God. That's
beer
why
at
I don't go
halftime.
to any sporting events. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't go just forget it. People get too passionate about sports
Yeah.
and all this
They do.
stuff.
And we get passionate about a lot of things, and then we want to censor one side. Just shut up and don't listen, don't talk to me. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's complicated. But this Elon thing is going way farther too. I mean, they're canceling a Starlink contract for saying Starlink doesn't meet rule. It shouldn't be following rules because he can't do that. They canceled some of the stuff for his EVs.
Well, he just can't stop putting his foot in his mouth, can he? That's the problem.
Dude,
He can't just leave it alone. He can't just accept what is and just be okay with it. He just keeps saying stuff. He's like a toddler. He can't be told no. So when he's told no, he'll just do the opposite. So he's doing it to himself, like essentially.
I just want to
It's
see how
crazy.
far we'll go. Keep talking, Elon. The entertainment is
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
I love it. Just keep.
Yeah.
But I think he'll get banned out of Europe. I really do. I think he'll pull it,
Yeah, he
or
will.
they'll get pulled out. There's no way he's paying 6% of global revenue to the EU. And I don't even think EU deserves 6% of global
What's the-
revenue. Like,
No, they
what
don't.
did you do to
It's a
earn
dumb
it?
fine.
Yeah.
Although,
It's a
Stupid.
dumb fine.
We made the law. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And if Facebook and Meta and Google and all these other companies were smart, they would say, okay, if you're going to do that to Elon, eventually you're going to do that to me.
They'll
I'm
come
going to
back.
do something that you can do
yeah,
so you can come after that 6 shoe, and they should all pull out.
yeah. But
Well, here's something that did happen recently. Threads launched in Europe just about a
Uh-huh.
week ago or so.
Yeah.
So does the EU even need Twitter? Do they have is
No.
Threads a viable alternative for them? Maybe. Like they even care? Is this timing like coincidence? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not.
I mean, how would you feel if he turned around and said, okay, if you're in the EU government and you support this policy, I think it's disinformation, you're banned, and he kicks him off Twitter.
yeah, I think people just need to use their common sense. That's what I'm going to
Yeah.
keep coming back to, and judgment, and saying just because someone has an opposite opinion doesn't mean like you have to if it's not physically hurting you or harming other people, like you need to have opinions. Like I have some strong opinions that that I believe, but there's people that disagree with them, and I'm still friends with them because I'm like, you're allowed to disagree with me and not share the same opinions I have. Like anchovies on a pizza, I think is a great thing. And if you don't like it, that's like, it's fine. We can still be friends. But people, I think people just too quick to be, I'm right, you're wrong. Like,
Okay, let's talk about our recommendations for this week then. Let's go down the list. Paul, what you got first?
I was going to say, since we had such a fiery discussion I'm gonna do 2 recommendations, and again, I don't care like how you feel, but I was like about
No, Paul, you get one. Come on, let's go.
You get one.
one. They
It's
come
Christmas. You can get 2. Come on.
together. So I was gonna say like, I'll just share my opinion. So like, I have different beliefs, but I still like read the Bible, and then I also read another book called Atlas Shrugged by Ian Rand, and I think like those are like 2 highly read books. And so my recommendation would be to anybody read Atlas Shrugged by Ian Rand, because I think it's like another great perspective, like for people to consider. But a really good book. That'll be my recommendation.
Kevin can use his new Kindle.
Yeah, dude, that book is so long. Oh my god, it's like took forever to read, but it's an interesting story.
Okay, Sarah, what you got?
So aside from the bed jet, which was the impromptu, my not null is, so I have this Christmas movie checklist that I created.
My goodness.
Yep.
That lists all the Christmas movies I want to watch. However, it's hard to tell what movies are on what streaming services because there are so many. So I pull up justwatch.com and type in the name of the movie. So if you want to do like Christmas Vacation, which is my number 1 Christmas movie of all time. But if you pull it up and then you just type in Christmas Vacation, and it'll tell you exactly what services it is available on. So I type in Christmas Vacation, look at all those services.
Jeez.
You can basically watch it anywhere.
You can stream it, you can rent it, you can buy it, pretty much wherever you want.
Yeah.
It's on all of them.
That's
all of them.
Hulu. Okay.
And you can filter it out by like, buy or just stream,
Like what you have.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have all of these, have that, have that, have that, have that, have that, have that, have that. have that.
Kevin, that's just like mine too. It's fine. It's fine.
So here's the thing I was going to say. That's like a subtle way of flexing how well in life you're doing.
It's true. Yeah, you subscribe to way too many of these.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, I canceled that one. I canceled that one. I canceled that one. That one's like.
This isn't even all of them. There's more here.
I don't. Here's my logic. Like, you can't watch all the shows at the same time, so I have a limit to the most at 5. I typically have like right now. I have like Amazon and YouTube like paid. That's it. And then if I want to watch something, I'll just get it for that time, watch it, and then cancel. But like, dude, like, oh my god, that's like a car payment. You could buy a BMW M2 like 2023. I just
don't think about it or tell me.
I'm on Netflix, Disney, and Apple. That's what I have.
So here's like, and I might have mentioned this before. I don't know where I've said it, but I don't know if I've said it on here. Here's where the streaming services are failing exponentially. They should lock you into a subscription price. And if they have any price increases, if you already have a subscription, you do not have that price increase, because otherwise there's no incentive to keep it when like you're like, Paul, okay, I'm going to sign up for Hulu for a week while I watch Only Murders in the Building, and then I'm going to cancel, and then I'm going to sign up for this other service and watch that. If I was locked into a price, I would not cancel, because I'd be afraid that next time I sign up, it'd be at a higher price. And none of them do it, which just blows my mind.
Yeah. But clearly Netflix is winning this whole war, which we thought they would lose, but they're beating them all.
No, the only thing with Netflix, they cancel all the good shows.
Yeah.
And then HBO followed suit because all the shows I used to like on HBO no longer exist. It's unbelievable. What is this world coming?
Anyway, if you need to find out what streaming service will play the movie you want or the TV show you want to watch, just pull up Just Watch.
Nice.
You can't add that to your PDF there, all of the icons.
Like it's got a little Hulu icon, and then
I have recommended this on here before on a previous one. I think it was before you even, Sarah. But it's also great for discoverability too.
Yeah.
Because you can find like here, look, you can find like just what's going on in different what's best in the charts right now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, by service, you're like, oh, I have Disney Plus. What's good on Disney Plus right now? You can look for trending. You find like what the top trending stuff on Disney Plus is.
Yeah.
It's a great way to find stuff too. Discoverability is really good. Or you can just tag all of them and find like what's trending across all of your things. It'll put them all in one big bucket and tell you what's the top thing on all of your platforms. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I love this. I use the app actually on the phone.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Reacher, Amazon's good, and Percy Jackson. I watched it last night when it premiered.
Nice.
It was surprisingly pretty good. I thought it was going to be dumb, but it was good. Well filmed.
Interesting.
The color grade was amazing. I thought it was really good. You'll like it, Kevin.
Okay.
Check it out.
So I don't know
Good
if
to
it
know.
followed the books. I didn't read the book. So if you're a purist, and I don't
haven't
know,
either.
I thought it was pretty good. So
I haven't either. Bobby, what you
apparently
got
the
then?
first
What's
movie
your-
didn't follow it.
Oh no. Oh yeah, because it's a remake, right?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
TV show now.
Okay. Is that your not null? You got
No,
something
I
else?
got one that's going to show you in the realm of our open conversation of things that I recommend. You know, I'm a C# guy. Well, my man Paul here has a Strapi course that he announced, and remixing Strapi. So look at that fine face there. And
That's
he
a
is
handsome
now
man
on
right there.
He's on Freecodecamp. So,
Yep.
which in full disclosure, they turned me down, Kevin. Remember when
Oh.
they turned us down?
Oh my goodness. Oh, God.
I couldn't get on this platform, so I had to make my own. So, but yeah,
don't-
he's got a
don't
course
turn-
out.
Don't turn a
Remix
software
and
developer
Strapi.
down. They'll just make it.
yeah. The logic there is like exactly. It's like, oh, I can't use this, so I'm going to make a better version of it. I'll see.
But yeah, he's
Yeah,
got a
good
course
stuff.
there. So if you need to learn full stack apps with Remix and Strapi, he's your guy.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, pretty good. Check it out. It's a crash course, so it's like just get what you need. You know, see if it's the right thing for you.
And it's free on YouTube.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah. Link will be down below as normal. I just have a complaint this week. I just have a null. I don't have a recommendation for this week. So
Are you trying to online order at a restaurant? Is that-
maybe my null might turn into a not null. I don't know yet, but I'm going to talk about books. So I got a book. It was my birthday recently. I got a book. My wife bought me a book. Look, Internet for the People. I've only read about a fifth of it so far, so I can't make it a null or a not null yet. I'll tell you once I've read it if it's a good book or not. But here's what I realized. I like a physical book. Okay, I like reading a book. I like the physical, like just touching the pages, like flicking through a book is good. But I also like you mentioned it earlier. They're the Paperwhite, right? It's good. Digital books are great, right? They're awesome. These definitely have advantages over a physical book, right? You can highlight things, you can skip through things, you can get instant access to the material. There's a lot of benefits to having a Kindle versus a physical book. But again, I also just like the physical book. But once you buy the physical book, if you want the digital version of the book, you also have to buy the digital version of the book. So remember, like movies, you buy a movie these days, right? You buy a physical movie. What does it come with? Generally, if you buy the best version of it, 2 discs, a Blu-ray, an Ultra version, an Ultra HD version, and a digital code. With generally with movies anywhere, right? So I can go and get a digital version of my movie so I can watch it on everywhere I want. Books, no, they've just skipped it. You have to buy a $15 version of the book, and then you have to buy a $10 version of the digital book. Why did they not come with a digital code? It is mind-boggling. I have no idea why. I don't think there's a real reason, to be honest, other than greed.
I was going to say there's some greedy capitalist listening to you right now. And it's like, no, it makes perfect sense to us. It makes perfect sense. I don't know what you're talking about, Kevin.
I will say this as a person who's published a book. I will say they are different places that they get made. And so you'd have to give it away somehow, you know.
Well, somebody has to solve that
But
problem.
if you're buying the physical copy, like,
But it comes from a different publisher. The printed book comes from a different place than Kindle does. So like
Well,
Somebody needs to solve that problem then.
Yeah.
Amazon needs to somehow solve that problem. Why is Amazon not solving this problem? Here's the other issue I have. Often the virtual digital copy of the book costs more than the physical copy of the book. Like,
Right.
whoa. You told me for the longest time that the reason books cost so much was because of the publisher, the printing, the shipping, all this extra stuff. That was the reason why. Now the digital version, which is just ones and zeros, costs more than the physical version. So you lied to me, basically. That just annoys
and
me.
I will say, this person has published a book. You can set your own prices for the digital versus your paperback versus whatever. And yes, if someone downloads my digital book, we make a lot more money.
Here,
So,
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
crazy.
even though it's
Weird.
$8.99, I mean, but like
Weird.
it's the same
Right.
price as the paperback, but you have a higher margin on the
Yeah.
obviously the digital than
Yeah.
your paperback.
but it is
'Cause you
crazy
do have to
because
pay to have it printed.
I
We should buy one to use anywhere. If I choose to
Yeah.
buy the physical version, I should be able to get a digital copy.
makes
Yeah.
perfect
now.
sense.
Whatever that.
Makes
I
perfect
completely
sense.
agree. Like my mind is blown as somebody who like is obsessed with my digital copies of my physical. Like I buy physical DVDs all the time. Well, like Blu-rays.
Yeah.
I don't know
But-
why I never like computed that in my head. Like, why aren't we doing the same thing for books?
Because when you publish your print, you send your print to the publisher to print it or to hold it to be printed on demand, like we do. And they would have to integrate with another platform to get that
Sure.
key that worked over there
Get it
so that
done.
you could print it inside
That's the
there. I'm just
excuse
saying
they
Well, it's the
gave
that
same
you to
issue as the
charge you
movies,
more
though.
money. Let me ask you a question. When you
Yep.
sent them the book, did you send them a physical copy?
a PDF. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a
I
digital
have
copy.
a thing called PDF to EMOB, whatever the E format reader converter is, takes no effort at all. So to me, that excuse that there's some
Well,
difficulty
in
to
Kindle,
is
it has
nonsense.
to be in the Kindle format
Yeah, there's a
to work
thing for
for
that.
downloading Kindle. And then you also have to like create it for, I don't know how many we made, Kevin. It was like Kindle and something else. I forget.
Well, there's a few different formats. Yeah, there are a
Yeah.
few different
Yeah.
formats because e-readers do use different
the-
formats. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But again, that process is very, very simple.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah,
Like-
they're just greedy.
Yeah, it was simple for us to do. So like, you know, we had a publisher that helped us do it and that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that there is a piece of software that has to be written where I've got a key and they have no interest in putting that key in that book because they'd have to every time they
But this is
print
the
it.
same. It's the same kind of technology though that the movie company uses now.
Yeah.
They print. So it goes to one place where they manufacture the disc, right? They then also put in a little piece of paper in there with a code on it. So it's like it's the same process. Why is there not a piece of paper in the back of my book from the manufacturer with a code on it that gives me access to the book?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the fact that they probably print the codes up beforehand and then they're shipped along with the manufacturing and they just stuff them in there. I don't know
Sure,
if they're dynamic or not.
That's
Whereas the
probably
on-demand
not.
publishing would have to be demand, like some kind of
But-
API call or something like that.
This is so silly because I recall buying a book on Kindle that has an Audible version of it for the same price.
Mhm.
So you get a Kindle version and you get Audible version. But yet, I also have the same book that I bought a physical version that I had to buy again. It makes no
Well, here's
sense.
something else too, though. So you got lucky because the fact that you bought the digital version and you got the Kindle, you got
Yeah.
the Audible version, is actually not common either.
Oh, jeez.
It's common that you
God.
have to buy both.
Oh,
So you could be buying 3 versions if you
Oh,
want the
God.
physical, the digital, and the Audible.
Dude.
You can buy the same content 3 times, just because of where you choose to consume it. That's
I do
nuts.
have a book that I bought. Actually, now that you reminded me, I have this great book. It's called, I forgot what it's called, but anyway, Clean Code. Clean Code is like programming book. I have a physical copy.
Yeah.
I have I have a Kindle copy, and I don't know why I bought a coding book on Audible. Makes no sense, but I did. And so I have an Audible version where you can't read, like listen to the code. That makes no sense. But I have the
That's
same
amazing.
book in 3 different places, and oh god,
Yeah.
so that's
It's
like
the same way here. We in Breaking the Code, you have an Audible book, we have a Kindle version, the Barnes and Noble version, and then a paperback and a hardback.
Yeah.
All of those places are different places where they're manufactured. Every one of them's a different vendor we had to deal with. And I would imagine Kindle goes, bro, I don't want you to send out a free tag. I mean, I want to get my 30% when it comes over
Right.
here. That's probably
That's true.
part
I
of
mean,
it,
obviously,
too.
it comes down to money. It's down to profit. It's down to greed.
Yeah. And
Ultimately,
it may
That's what
not be
it is.
necessarily the author. It's more of the platforms like, hey, I want my cut. I don't want free.
No,
will
and
out there.
that is the point. Yeah. It's definitely not. The authors don't have a choice. They don't have.
Yeah.
If you want to sell the book, you sell the book. You right. You just you live in whatever ecosystem you're operating in. It is the ecosystem that needs to fix it, and I think it's something like Amazon could fix it, but they want to sell 2 copies of the book.
yeah.
That's
Yes.
the problem. They're
Yeah.
they're misaligned. I wonder why we've become so accepting of that. Whereas with the movies things were like got so much pushback. They ultimately went for this version where you get 2 discs in the thing. You get the Blu-ray, you get the Ultra HD version, and then you get the digital version. Like, why did they do that? Why were they forced to do that? Because it's seemingly
I don't know if they forced to. I think they decided that they could spend less on manufacturing by manufacturing one jacket And then they
That
knew
has
at the
both.
time there was a couple of different kinds of players out there. And so they needed to show both versions, you know. I don't know how many times early on that, you know, someone buys my wife went out and said, hey, go pick up the DVD. And she comes back and it's a regular DVD. We're like, what
Not
are
a
we
Blu-ray.
like? What is this, 1980? What is
Right.
this? What is this nonsense? We can't play this.
I think for
It doesn't
movies,
work. No. If it did, we wouldn't watch it. We're not. No, go back and get we want the Blu-ray, baby. Come on.
I wonder if with like DVDs, the reason why it's so accepting, like when DVDs were around, like there's a huge pandemic of like booted, like people just ripping and having like bootleg copies. So they're like,
Maybe.
if we make it easy, we have both physical and maybe that, you know, just people going to be, I don't know.
So you're saying we need to have more piracy in the book side of things to fix the problems with that? Okay.
Look, to be honest, 100% will fix it. Like look at how we have Spotify now, like when Napster and
True.
those
Napster,
other, it's
yeah.
like an Apple
true
Music.
Napster.
That's
The real Napster.
The real Napster.
I don't know if you've seen Italian Job, but
Yeah.
one of the better movies.
It's so good. I had a bad experience. I will admit to purchasing most of the Disney classics at least 5 different times.
Okay.
Because I bought the VHS and then I bought the DVD and then I bought the Blu-ray and then like, you know, the 4K or maybe the Blu-ray again and then buying it on digital. Like, yeah.
I can
It's-
tell
it's
you
a
that
problem.
I've bought movies twice from Amazon on the same account because I logged in on a different account on my TV.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I
it's obnoxious.
swear we own this movie. I'm going to buy it again. And I log in to Kelly's account like, man,
Like,
we
oh, there
bought
it
this
is.
twice. Amazon
That's when
shouldn't
it
let
comes
me
down
do
to
that.
user error. Yeah, and you're
Yeah, it's
yelling
my
at
fault.
Amazon. Like,
Thank you.
I bet that's like part of the strategy is like get people
Yeah.
confused because the fact that you could log into different services with either your Google, your iPhone ID, or your like other ID.
True.
I'm sure I have
Yeah.
2 services that I'm paying for with different emails, like just because I'm an idiot. I'm sure it's happening.
okay, well, that's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening this far. If you want to send us an email, you can. Where can they send that email to, Sarah?
The Not Null Podcast at AOL.com.
That is correct. We'll be back again next week with some more fun stuff to talk about. We'll catch everybody later.